Members claim both cases are linked by possible corruption at the highest level. Tonight we take a look at the deadly beating of Hank Johnson. Here's part one of our series, Murder at the Cross. A pair of shoes, a ripped t-shirt. It's all Sandy Johnson has left of her son.
He did not deserve it. He didn't have a chance.
Hank Johnson wore these clothes the night he was beaten to death.
Hank was very trusting.
In the summer of '08, Hank Johnson struggled to make ends meet. The young father left his home in Pasadena, moved into a hotel room in Hearne to make a living. It's the spitting image of any small town USA.
I went to the crossroads, fell down on my knees.
In the 1900s, it earned the nickname Booger County. Rumors of corruption and conspiracy continue to swirl the streets, keeping the nickname alive. Historic buildings line Main Street in Hearne, many worn down and tattered. A gas station is going in where Hank Johnson's motel once stood. The 27-year-old spent his days working as a welder at the Oak Grove plant in Robertson County. His evenings spent playing guitar, entertaining his co-workers. His weekends helping his mom put on puppet shows for kids.
He was always musical, even when he was little, very musical. And he also did impressions.
Hank Johnson's good reputation didn't fit in at the executive end. Police called it a hub for drugs and prostitution, the type of place locals would tell you to avoid after dark. But for Johnson, room 125 was his temporary home. On the night of July 10th, it became a crime scene.
You could see where there was blood.
Just before midnight, Johnson's girlfriend, Sonny Carter, found him on the floor of his room, barely conscious, barely alive.
He was just sitting there, just slumped over his knees. I called the front desk. I told him that something had happened. It looked like he had been beaten.
Hearne police roped off the scene while paramedics rushed Johnson to a local hospital. He slipped into a coma and died 11 days later, his mom by his side.
What happened that night, that took my heart, and my family's heart, and his kids' heart.
Back at the scene, cops questioned several people, knocked on doors, and combed the area for evidence. 2 of Johnson's guitars were missing from his room. The assault investigation turned homicide case fell into the lap of Sergeant Steve Stokely, a former detective with the Hearne Police Department.
I talked to Steve Stokely, the detective, and he told me right away that he indeed solved the case.
Stokely would only talk to News 3 off camera. He says he quickly developed several suspects, including this person, 41-year-old Billy Blackburn. In and out of jail since the 80s, Blackburn's rap sheet is littered with burglary, assault, and police retaliation charges. What's more interesting, his brother-in-law is Robertson County District Attorney John Pascal, a connection Johnson's mother claims is a conflict of interest that led to a cover-up.
At that point, I knew something was wrong. I knew it.
Pascal would not talk about the Johnson case on camera, but did admit he met with Blackburn alone about Johnson's assault. He told News 3, quote, "He's not going to talk to a law enforcement officer, but he'll talk to me. He was never a suspect." Pascal's move eventually prompted Ms. Johnson to file a federal lawsuit. She and her attorney want Pascal pulled from the case. Lawsuit claims Pascal violated basic investigative procedure, according to the state's rules of professional conduct, because the interview was not witnessed by a law enforcement officer, or anyone else for that matter. Ms. Johnson says Blackburn was only cleared because of his connections to the DA. Pascal's office eventually cut off communication with her.
I am sick with grief, but I am not that sick that I don't realize that I have been lied to.
Pascal told News 3 when he met with his brother-in-law, Blackburn unleashed information about another suspect, a man who Blackburn said had a reason to want Johnson dead. 41-year-old Ralph Martinez knew Billy Blackburn and had ties to the motel where Johnson stayed. According to Pascal, days before the attack, Martinez told Blackburn he suspected his girlfriend was cheating on him with a plant worker and said he might need help. Even though the Hearne police were investigating, Pascal questioned Martinez and his girlfriend Patricia Nelson at the county courthouse. According to the DA's report, both Nelson and Martinez admitted they were at the scene the night Johnson was attacked, but denied being involved. The report shows Nelson and Martinez's statements didn't add up. According to Pascal, both were badly bruised. He says, quote, "Ralph shows up and sits in that chair right there and is beat to hell. He has lumps all over him." The story is that Patricia Nelson had hit him with a baseball bat. Miss Johnson believes their injuries matched her son's, a possible lead that Johnson claims investigators ignored.
I noticed a wood mark on his arm, and I told him several times, I said, there was a wooden grain mark, and he goes, I don't know what that would have been.
When we spoke with Pascal about the investigation, he told News 3 he believes Martinez is capable of murder. In fact, shortly after their interview, Martinez took a polygraph test. According to Pascal, he failed. Just when Miss Johnson thought the DA was closing in on her son's killer, another blow.
It's really hell. It's really hell. And you go through it, you try the best you can. So, I'm trying the best I can.
The suspect's sister, Esther Martinez, who admitted to being with Ralph at the motel the night of the attack, was supposed to testify against her brother to the grand jury, but backed out at the very last minute. The move left detectives scrambling for a new lead. They turned to Martinez's girlfriend, Patricia Nelson. Pascal told us this, quote, "We decided that we need to get Patricia Nelson because there was hair pulled. To me, that is indicative of a female being involved in the assault, so I figured Patricia Nelson was involved." The day before Nelson was supposed to take a polygraph, Pascal called the Hearne police detective heading up the case. Steve Stokely told News 3 off camera that's when he learned Pascal was conducting interviews behind his back. Conversation turned ugly, and Stokely hit record.
You guys talked to all my potential witnesses way before I could even get. I'm gonna tell you what, you're about to piss me off. And when you piss me off, you're just to find out what happened. Is that a threat? No, that's a problem. You got that?
And we'll pick up right there tomorrow night at 6 o'clock in part 2.